Good afternoon and happy Friday to you all. We are live with another Fireside Friday here from the Verizon Connect HQ in Dublin. Really excited about today. We're going to meet with Dan Bowyer. And Dan's a really interesting person to meet with because he's a senior architect, data architect, who has recently returned back to the business, having spent some time outside of Verizon Connect. So really interesting story. He's also highly skilled and involved in architecture at a very high level within the business too. So we'll be looking to dig a bit deeper into that and find out what Dan is all about. So I'll bring Dan in now. Dan, happy Friday. You're live.
Happy Friday, Park. How are we doing, sir?
Yeah, good. Not too bad. We're live on LinkedIn now and Twitter as well. And of course, just to mention that these interviews will be going on to Spotify as well and YouTube. So hopefully you'll be famous before the end of today, you know.
Well, fingers crossed, right?
Fingers crossed, yeah. So look, I just did a really brief intro there before I brought you into the stream. You've recently returned to Verizon Connect, but you've worked with the business before, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I originally joined back in 2010, pre-Verizon days. Actually, it was Fleamatics at the time.
Yeah.
So so during my first tenure, I was with the company for 10 years. So went through the IPO to go in public, and then the buyout through Verizon. I left March 2020. Yeah, so after literally just shy of a 10-year stint, working on the data side. So in what was the Fleamatics platform, and then into the Reveal platform.
Yeah. So you're the guy who knows where the bodies are buried, right?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I buried some of them, I would say.
All right. So buried somewhere in the back end. And
yeah.
Here's a question for you then. So, before I joined Verizon, I used to do a bit of recruitment for our Fleamatics and then for Connect on the outside. So I've seen the requirements from a recruitment perspective change over time. Could you give us a little bit of a flavor for what was then Fleamatics and where we're at now?
When I joined, we were a very, very small team, right? There was probably, I think, 30 of us in the office, in the Dublin office at the time when I joined, and it was a very small development team, and it was very, very segmented with key individuals had key experiences. So we had dedicated front-end developers, dedicated database developers, and a pretty even split between the teams, right? And as that's changed, and as we've grown, we've gone into the kind of requirements for more of what we term full stack developers, full stack engineers, right? So guys that have experience right the way through the stack. So you'll see a lot more of that within the teams now than dedicated database developers or dedicated UX developers or API developers, that kind of thing. So it's a much from an engineer's point of view, you get a much broader involvement in the end-to-end development process, and a lot more responsibility. There's still liaison with your colleagues and stuff like that, but as an engineer, you kind of own that piece of work end to end, which is can be very fulfilling, right? And certainly less frustrating than the old ways of trying to do development, waiting on a piece of work to be done by somebody else and it being handed up and so forth. So that's probably the biggest change from the sort of hiring methodology that we've had over the last 12 years now.
Yeah. That type of transition from older methodologies, waterfall, where there's dependencies left, right, and central, into something more lean and agile. It's a very attractive thing for engineers to be able to come in and know that they can actually make an impact and own something.
Yeah, and it's very quick. It's very quick to make an impact, right? With the modern methodologies that we use. Now, don't get me wrong; it was a painful process transferring from those old waterfall methodologies, and going from what was 1 or 2 releases a year to we're releasing, deploying code out into our production systems on a daily basis now. But yeah, it can be very fulfilling, having work that you've done out in the production system very, very quickly. I mean, I can remember when we were doing the releases every 6 months, you'd forget half the stuff that you'd forget the memory of what you were working on. You kind of lost it, right? Because you've done 20 other things in since, and it was all going out as one big bang. But yeah, I find it very fulfilling, the whole concept of from ideation right the way through to it being live and being in customers' hands is very quick and very fluid. Very rewarding.
I had a chat with Alex Lowry there 2 weeks ago or so, and he spoke about that impact, and he talked about it from a data perspective as well, I guess, and the team that he champions. But he kind of jumped outside of the boundaries, the 4 walls of Verizon Connect into society as well, and talked about not just the professional and engineering impact you have, but the impact on people's lives, because we're building products and systems. We're building a platform that can save lives ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, the use cases for the Connect products as a whole is it's really intriguing, right? These products really do have a direct impact on our customers and their employees and their customers. It's so broad, and I'm sure that Alex was talking about things like the dash cam videos, a lot of the safety stuff that we've started to implement, and our customers are really taking a positive view and implementing that. Driver safety, and when you're talking about things like driver safety, you're obviously talking about other road user safety as well, right? So it is a very broad-reaching platform that we use. I mean, we tend to kind of only think about the customer, the user of the system, but yeah, the user is not just someone that's logged into the website and doing the management and the admin side of stuff. There's millions of drivers out there that are using our technologies to make their day more efficient and more safe. So yeah, it's, like I said, it's a massively rewarding platform to be working on, to be fair.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It fits with the ethos of Verizon as well. You hear people like Hans Vestberg talking about our 4th stakeholder and the the outside world, be it people, humans we interact with or affect, or the environment, or what have you. I think Peter Mitchell spoke recently about this. We're in a pretty critical damn time at the moment when it comes to environmental concerns, but Verizon Connect can actually be a part of that solution when you think about how we can reduce emissions via knowing what you're about with idling.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember like the idling stuff. I mean, it's with everything else that we've added over the years, that idling stuff, I think we kind of forget just how important and critical that is, right? The highlighting when vehicles are idling, informing drivers and dispatchers and this kind of stuff. We've been reducing fuel consumption across our fleets for years, right? And as the fleet grows, those savings and those emissions are just growing.
Yeah,
it's staggering. I can remember doing some research a few years back on the data that we were having, but the volumes of gallons and gallons and gallons of fuel that have been saved across even just an individual company is absolutely staggering. And that's where I think Reveal really kind of comes into its own, and the rest of the Connect systems is that the return on investment for our customers is massively tangible and very, very quick to what's the word I'm looking for, for them to realize, to see those savings come through.
Yeah. So you're talking about a problem at scale, but you're talking about solutions at scale as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So here's a question for you then. What are you working on right now? What's cool about what you do? I mean, I'm selfish, right? I'm trying to hire people, so I need to know what's the coolest stuff you're working on.
Right. Okay. Well, some of the big projects that I'm working on at the moment, and they're cool for me because it's an area that I really have a deep passion for, and it's all around kind of data compliance.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people listening will remember the whole GDPR stuff that came out a few years ago. There are extensions to that are coming in through Europe at the moment, and I'm working with the Verizon legal and compliance teams across the world at the moment to see if we're going to get involved in some discussions around things like 5G AA, which is the 5G systems with automated technologies. But there's some other compliance stuff around in the EU that's coming out on the back of GDPR, specific to in-vehicle data, which is looking to be really, really interesting. And then there's also things like other data regulations that are being implemented in the US. We've had the California Consumer Protection Act from a few years back. That's been enhanced now into a much broader set of rules and regulations and laws that are coming into effect at the end of the year. And it's very aligned with the likes of GDPR. So yeah, data compliance and that kind of stuff, and privacy, understanding how we do privacy by design. So in our development methodologies, how we can ensure that any of the data that we're housing as part of the system for our customers and the data that customers are entering, how we can keep that safe and make sure that doesn't get into the wrong hands and that kind of stuff. It's I think it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of goes very much beyond my career historically from a database development point of view, and then into sort of the DBA role, and then moving into sort of solution architecture, and then into the data architecture role. It's been a really interesting progression from me, kind of implementing and dealing with the likes of the legal and the compliance teams. I mean, there are some really bright minds out there, and it's quite eye-opening, different perceptions of legal texts and how we have to implement that in our designs of our software solutions to our customers.
I love the idea of doing it by design. I mean, we had a pretty eye-opening revelation from one of the big companies there recently around data and data processing and GDPR, and I mean the financial implications for businesses when you breach GDPR regulations are pretty profound, right? And we've had some.
And it's scary, right? And the way that it's laid out, it's scary at any level.
Yeah,
right. Because it's done on percentages of your turnover, so it's scary at any level, whatever size of business you are. And we have a responsibility not only for Verizon and Connect, but as the software as a service platform that we provide to our customers, there's an element of responsibility of us to provide those tools and capabilities and security to our customers so that they can ensure that they're enforced and abiding by the rules and regulations of their relevant territory.
Yeah, can be kind of scary, but at least if you're doing something about it on purpose, you're hopefully getting ahead of the curve anyway. That's where you come in, right? So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
you're the guy we blame if it goes wrong, right?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, that's right.
So here's a question for you. I mean, what an arc, you're talking about growing up within a business, career-wise, that is.
Yeah.
And the progression there that you've experienced is phenomenal. Tenure as well, which if you're talking to somebody like me, I'll tell you is a relative rarity when you're on the hunt for engineers, because people don't always stick around that long. But you found yourself on your journey, and I hope you don't mind me asking you about this, but you found yourself coming to the end of that journey, right? And you decided to move on from the organization at some stage.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what brought you to that move?
Well, like I said, like you say, 10 years is a in this day and age, it's a long time to reside with one company, right? ironically, it was actually my second 10-year stint at an IT firm. As I alluded to earlier, I joined back in 2010, right, when Fleetmatics was a very, very small company, and we've gone through so much, right? A true unicorn company, and there was a lot of the buzz around that process that we went through, going from a very small kind of company based in Dublin to having offices all over the world, growing hundreds of thousands, hundreds and then thousands of employees within Connect, and some real success stories. And whilst we were as a company back in 2010, back in 2020, we were still making improvements, and we were still expanding our product line and our customer base. I found myself kind of missing that startup excitement and drive and passion.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what led me to look at moving on, right? And I went to another small startup, a little bit smaller than what Fleetmatics was at when I joined Fleetmatics, and I was there for 20 months, just shy of 2 years, right? So 20 months, and there's a reason why they call these companies unicorns, right?
Yeah,
because they don't come along very often, right? And
no.
And look, it's just for a lot of reasons, it just wasn't working out for me, and I'd obviously stayed in touch because after working for a company for 10 years, right, you make some lifelong friendships and relationships, right, and you keep those going. So it was always in contact with ex-colleagues and ex-leaders and mentors from Verizon, and I got chatting kind of middle of last year about some of the projects that were coming up, and like the California stuff that I was talking to you about earlier, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of where I want to be, right? I want to be working on these kind of things. In my previous role, I learned a lot. It was so over the previous 2 years, I learned a lot. It was a much more all-encompassing technology role. So I learned a lot about manufacturing and hardware and supply chains and God knows what, which was an absolute nightmare given COVID and then issues with the Suez Canal and all of that. So those kind of challenges. So it was a steep learning curve for me. So I learned a lot, and I've got a lot to take away from it. But yeah, I'm happy and feel very much at home. So I'm ecstatic to be back, and the welcome that I've had has been absolutely fantastic. I do have to say, been well received. I've been back. I joined back in January, so it's nearly 4 months.
4 months now, yeah.
And it feels like I've never left. It really does. Apart from the odd meeting that I jump into and someone goes, "Oh, Dan's back."
Yeah. That's the guy to blame for the GDPR problem.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's funny because we're and I'm giving away some of my TA strategy secrets here now, but when we myself and Nick and Craig and the team started strategizing about TA and how to do TA better and getting people back in the business, one of the things we were looking at was what some people call boomerang candidates, candidates that go out and circle around and come back in. And the notion the theory was that there's a lot to be done outside, but the grass isn't always greener necessarily. But the kind of caveat to that as well is that, sometimes you swap one set of problems or challenges for another set, but hopefully you learn and grow from whatever you encounter, and you bring back new knowledge, you bring back new experiences. Do you feel that Suez Canal, I remember that so well.
Yeah.
Remember that, crikey, the whole world shut down
No, absolutely right.
Right. In fact, we've had one set of disasters after another in the last few years. But the question I'm trying to ask is, do you think that you learned, you grew, you gained something that you could bring back into Connect?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, it was a move away from the general kind of focus on data. It was a move into all aspects of providing a solution, right? So managing not just data engineers, but DevOps, hardware engineers, electronic engineers from a design point of view, managing supply chains and manufacturers, as well as dealing with government agencies and some state bodies as our customer base. So it was a much broader role, and outside of just purely the development space, if you know what I mean. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot at that. Attending board meetings and the like. So just general enhancements to business knowledge and dealing with customers, and having that kind of takeaway to come back into the Verizon Connect fold, and just have a little bit more of an appreciation for things that happen outside of that engineering department. I think it's going to really help me be even more customer focused.
Yeah. That's
in
the
regards
core
to deliveries
strategy
and
now,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting, and that is I don't want to say it's a change within the business, but we're really learning how to evolve and look after the customer at the moment. So that holistic view, that holistic knowledge base, can only be beneficial in that regard.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So here's a question for you then, right? Gossip time. What's different since you came? Gossip time, yeah. What's different since you came back? Any changes? Anything new?
Well, there's a lot more beards around, for certain. Yeah, there's definitely more people with beards that didn't have beards before. What's changed? Yeah, so I mean, just to put it in perspective, my last day 2 years ago was it Friday the 13th or 14th?
You left
March.
on a Friday the 13th.
It was March, and the Thursday before the Friday, so the day before, was the day that the Verizon Connect offices closed.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when we closed, and then we thought it would be closed for 2 weeks. So obviously that's changed drastically, right? My last working day, everyone was in the office and everything was normal. So we all know where we're at the moment, right? We're, majority of us are still working from home. There's the odd day in the office. So lots of conversations over this kind of technology. Spend my time speaking to the laptop screen a lot of the time. So that's certainly one change. The team has changed quite a lot in the 2 years, right? It's extended in certain areas. Responsibilities have moved out of the Dublin office, maybe down to the Christchurch office or Mercia or out in Atlanta. So trying to understand, from my point of view, trying to figure out who's responsible for what was obviously something that had changed quite drastically, because as responsibilities moved around. But then there's so much that has stayed the same, right? A lot of the processes are still there. A lot of the teams and the projects are still moving forwards. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. It's literally like I've just taken a 2-year holiday.
That's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
See you in 2 years, lads.
Yeah. No, absolutely. In fact, I think I've had 2 people so far that didn't realize that I'd left.
Oh my God. Is that a compliment or an insult?
Yeah,
What is
I'm
that?
not sure if that's a compliment or an insult at all, but no, yeah. So
yeah. That's good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, hopefully, I don't know if you've been in since you came back. I presume you've been in now. You're probably in
Yeah,
and
I've been
out.
in. I've been in a couple of times now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose what is it? May is work forward goes live in May. So I think the commitment is a day a month. But if you're like me, I come in most days. I have a fairly hectic household at home, so it can be hard to have conversations like this when your 2-year-old son has the lungs of a banshee. So it can get
Yeah, yeah. I know.
but,
I can only imagine. Can only
oh
imagine.
yeah.
No, I've myself. We've got a couple of cats. They've been extremely well behaved for a change. But yeah, normally they're kicking off or jumping across the laptop or whatever it may be. But no, it's great. It's great having that flexibility to go into the office as and when you
Yeah.
feel that you'd like to or you'd need to.
Yeah.
The couple of days that I've been in, it was very refreshing. We had a couple of real life face-to-face meetings, which was certainly, I would say, certainly much more productive in the time frame that we'd set aside for the meeting than they can be over Zoom and Google Hangouts and the like. I think the technology has really helped get us through COVID, but nothing really can beat the likes of face-to-face meetings and brainstorming sessions and the like. So yeah, the couple of days that I have been in have certainly been worthwhile. And like you say, starting next week, I think we'll be seeing a lot more groups of people in the office and taking advantages of the space that we have and the in a responsible way. But yeah, it's I'm looking forward to kind of getting back and seeing people face to face, right? I mean, as we all are, I'm sure.
I know. So funny. The first. This is almost a ridiculous thing to admit now, but the first thing that I noticed was I brought the team in on a Friday, and I'm always talking about the food markets, right? It's like the center
Yeah.
of my return to office experience. But we brought the team in on a Friday because the food markets are across the road. Went across the road, and one of the team was standing beside me. So I saw this, instead of the portrait photo, I saw a side profile of their head, right? As I looked inside, and I didn't recognize him. I was just used to portrait photo. That was it. Yeah. So it's funny the things you realize coming out of it. But yeah, I mean, that's the beauty between the work, collaboration, innovation, coffee, pool, whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Good.
like I said, I mean, and the office, it's a great office space, to be honest.
Yeah,
and it was it'll be great to get people back in and using it for collaboration and a little bit of downtime, and start to rebuild those kind of working relationships and friendships again. It's exciting times, right? So
it is. All right, I ask everybody this question. So I'll ask you as well at the end, which is, who should I talk to next? Who would those people out in the world, those candidates that might be considering coming in to Verizon Connect and could be interested in careers here? Who should they hear from next?
To be honest, I would either go with Dermot. Do you know Dermot O'Reilly or Trina Harris?
Yes.
From the paradigm, I know that Dermot's moved on in his roles and responsibilities, but and Trina's kind of taken over on the lean and agile stuff. But a bit of a session on the lean and agile methodologies that we have implemented here, I think would be where I would go if I was you, Horrick, to be fair.
They're actually brilliant. So I know Dermot and Trina well, and Dermot is the man who has the grandest job title in all of Verizon, I think. So
I only found out last week what his new title was. Yeah.
So Dermot, Trina, we're coming for you. Rather than be cryptic over a stream, Dermot's title is Chief of Staff.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, phenomenal. And Dermot, Trina, and Dermot running the lean agile programs. We only heard from Nick a couple of some weeks back, and Nick talked about getting back to the lean agile ethos that has crafted this company to be what it is. So it's an exciting time. Dan, thank you so much. We're at time. I know you have a call to jump to, so thanks a million. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences and knowledge.
No,
and
it's been an
stories.
absolute pleasure, Parag.
Likewise.
Right.
All right. Happy Friday.
Talk to you soon. And you, take care now. Bye-bye.
Okay, folks. So there you have it. That was Dan Bowyer, who's a senior architect with the business, focused on data architecture, a former employee who recently returned back to the business. Interesting to hear that, yeah, okay, the grass mightn't always be greener out there, but you can learn, you can grow, you can gain new knowledge, new experiences, develop new competencies, and come back. And he's already adding value in phenomenal ways. But it's also great to have that, what I call IP, intellectual property, that knowledge come back into the business. So phenomenal guy, phenomenal story, and very exciting. Now, as always, if you're interested in careers with us, we're hiring across the board, all the way across engineering, product experience, operations, sales enablement. The list goes on. Anything you can imagine within a product organization, a SaaS business that has an element of hardware to it. Reach out, comment below. Tag people you know who you think might be interested in the type of jobs we hire for: engineering, DevOps, QA, product experience, and so on. Doesn't matter where they are in the world. We want to talk to them. We have some really exciting opportunities here. So, as always, I'm going to leave you with our Credo video, tell you a little bit more about our culture, who we are, how we show up, and see you next Friday.
From where we work to where they live. From our technology to supporting theirs. From each and every one of us to each and every one of them. Everything we do affects everything they do. That's why how we work, what we believe, our values make all the difference.
We share our success with the community
to make the world in which we work better than it was yesterday.
We keep our commitments to each other and our customers.
We know teamwork enables us to serve our customers better and faster.
We focus outward on the customer, not inward.
Our actions produce measurable results.
We run to a crisis, not away.
We are committed to doing the right thing.
This is our credo. Our guide to what really matters. How we stay connected to each other and to them. We are Verizon.